a production of the South Carolina Educational Television Network. The following program is made possible in part by grants from SCENG, Duke Power Company, and Carolina Power and Light.
Welcome to this segment of Capitol View. I'm Tom Fowler. And our guest is Senator Kay Patterson, Democrat from District 19 in Richland County. Senator Patterson is a retired educator living in Columbia with a master's degree from South Carolina State. His career includes service as a teacher, college instructor, USC trustee, service on regional and national education associations. He is also a Marine veteran, served in the House from 1975 to 1985 and in the Senate since that time. Serves on the Judiciary, Education, Labor, Commerce, and Industry, Medical Affairs, and Rules Committee of the Senate. Welcome to Capitol View.
Thank you, Tom. It's nice to be here.
Give us a report card, if you would, at this just over halfway point of this year of the session.
Well, over on the Senate side where I am, we've passed the seat belt law. That's one of the biggest things that we have done over on that side because we are still waiting for the budget, and we received the budget. That is, our committee, Finance Committee, have received the budget, but we are now waiting to do the budget. It must go through the committee first, and then when the committee finishes, it'll report it out to the full Senate, and that's when we start our debate on the budget, which is, of course, that's the biggie every year, around $3 billion, and that's where we are on the Senate side right now.
Have you been pleased with the progression of issues, how they've been taken up?
Yes, I have. By and large, I have, along with the issues on the Senate side and appointments to committees and commissions. When I say appointments, the governor will appoint, and we advise and consent to his appointments. By and large, I've been pleased with the progress of the General Assembly thus far.
This state has been called a legislative state, but one of the major powers any governor has is, as you mentioned, appointments to commissions and to boards in the state. That's something that does occupy a great deal of time, and those appointments remain on boards and commissions for a number of years and manage the boards and commissions of the state.
Yes, sir. Yes, and this governor, by and large, he has made some good appointments. Of course, now when he first started out, he and I had a falling out about appointments to boards and commissions because I brought it to his attention that he had not put any blacks on the what I call paying commissions with salaries attached there too. And he and I fell out about that when he first got elected, but now we are on good working relationships and cordial relationships, and he has done a bit better along that line. He has made some good appointments to paying commissions such as Tim McConnell to the Tax Commission, and a young man, I think his name is Dunbar, on the Employment Security Commission. So he is doing better along that line, and I commend him for that, and I'm hoping that he'll do better than what he's already done.
With the two-term governorship, as we saw with Governor Riley, by the end of his second term, he not only had virtually all the appointments to every commission and board, but many reappointed that would continue beyond that second term. With this and with the possibility, some say probability, that Governor Campbell will be reelected, how would you see this?
Well, I think the same thing will be true for Governor Campbell. As you alluded, with one term, you can only get so many appointments in. But with 2 terms, in my view, you get all the appointments in. And previously, the governors have been, they tried to do it in a fair manner, and that is of course, whatever political party you're from, it's natural that you will appoint your people from that party, but there's a certain extent that you will go, and that is if you have 8 members or 10 or 12 or 7 on a commission, you would not, if I'm a Democrat, I wouldn't appoint all Democrats. You appoint the majority and then leave the rest to the opposite party. And but this Governor Campbell doesn't operate that way. It seems to me that he appoints all his boys and girls to the commissions and for us in the Senate to approve. And I just don't agree with that, because all the other governors, including we've only had 2 Republican governors. The other one, of course, is Governor Edwards. Governor Edwards appointed his Republican people to commissions, which is proper. That's the process. But he also left room in there, and he appointed and reappointed some Democrats, and therefore you have both parties represented on these boards and commissions. And I think that's the way it should be. It should not be all of just one party. That's not right.
Would you see that pattern continuing?
Well, as I said now, that thus far, in my opinion and what I could see, that's what Governor Campbell is doing. Governor Campbell is appointing strictly Republicans to these boards and commissions, and it's his right to appoint who he wants to appoint. All I'm saying is, for equity and fairness, he should appoint the majority of the commission, of each commission, Republican, because he is a Republican, and then leave the balance for Democrats. To me, that's the equitable way to do it.
On another issue, recently at Myrtle Beach, there was a large public hearing of local people talking with highway department officials about their local priorities. I'm sure that each part of the state has got its own set of priorities with what they need and their roads requirements and all the things connected to that. This has been an area you've been concerned about. Where does that stand right now, the set-asides?
Well, as far as there's a SHIMS commission, they make the decisions on where the federal money will be spent and that type of thing. And yesterday, Senator Theo Mitchell of Greenville brought an amendment to the floor wherein all the SHIM commissioners now are white. And his amendment says that at least one black out of 10 people should be on that commission. And we adjourned yesterday with Senator Drummond of Greenwood holding the floor. And we go back this morning, we start on the same thing, and that's why I want to get back down there as quick as I can. Now, as far as the 10% set-aside, as you know, there was a Richmond decision from the U.S. Supreme Court which stated that Richmond said 30% of the contractors should be black, and they didn't have substantiating evidence to back up the 30% figure, and therefore the Supreme Court knocked it down. Now, some people say that's a blow to affirmative action and all that, but in my view, it is not. It simply states that Richmond, the city of Richmond, did not substantiate the number they had. Here in South Carolina, we have a 10% set aside for federal contracts and also 10% for state awarded contracts of highway construction. And we are in the process now of going over that legislation and fine-tuning it and bringing it into line with the Richmond decision. However, we are having problems with the highway department. No matter what law we pass, like 10%, they find another way to skin the cat, to the extent that they can find ways not to award that to black contractors, but rather we have identified white women as a minority. Now, that's just about as silly as you can get, saying a white woman is a minority. I mean, a white woman was the president of this country one time, Nancy Reagan. I mean, it ain't no minority about Nancy. Nancy ran the country. But now they give the contracts, award them to white women and say they're helping minorities. And So no matter what we do in the General Assembly, the Highway Commission and the Commissioner can find a way to get around it, and that's where we have problems here in South Carolina. And after all, we are simply asking them, you talk about the free enterprise system and America, the country of opportunity and all. We ask them to let us have 10%, just a dime out of the dollar, and you would have people getting up on the floor of the Senate arguing against that.
Why?
Well, I don't want to use the word racism, but you know, you can beat all around the bush and dress it up any way you want to dress it up. But when you boil it down to a low gravy, I don't see anything else that you can call it. I mean, when a person wants it all, he has 100%. Mm-hmm. And then you come in and ask for a dime or 10%, and they start talking about you looking for handouts and you ain't qualified. But I always remind them, I said, look, I said, now here we have to beg you for a dime. We got to beg you to let black contractors be involved in making a living. I said, but now, when America fought all the wars, every war you can think of, blacks were involved. And we didn't have to beg to get involved. I was involved in the Korean War. Mm-hmm. And I didn't beg Harry S. Truman to please let me go. Harry S. Truman sent for me. Mm-hmm. And he was my favorite president, incidentally. And, you know, and we contribute to everything, the discovery of America, exploration of America, you know, the development of America. But when it comes to business and to highway constructions, we got to beg and even pass a law to let black contractors get 10%. Now, you know that's really ridiculous.
This coming session, any more activity in this area?
Oh, yes, sir. We're in the very middle of that now, preparing to substantiate our figures of our 10%. Mm-hmm. But the research we have done thus far, you know, it's more than 10%. It really goes at around 17% of the contracts that we should be getting. But it's just strange that here in America we have to fight this type of battle. And then when we fight the battle and ask for it, people will look at us and say, well, why is it you always bringing up black issues? And why are you always talking about something for black people? And why everything black, black? Why don't you ever say anything about white people? And, you know, and I have to remind them, I said, look, in the Senate, there are only 5 black senators out of 46. In the House, there are only 16 black representatives out of 124. 16 plus 5 gives you 21. 21 blacks out of 170. Mm-hmm. The governor is white. The president of the United States is white. Now, you know, there's a whole lot of people to speak for white folks. But you only have 21 in South Carolina to speak for blacks. And that's why when they see us on television or hear us on the radio or in the media, that's the reason. It's not that we don't represent white. 42% of my district is white. I represent Harperson, Irmo, Ballantyne, Blythewood, and I represent all the top of Richland County. And I try to do it to the best of my ability.
And we must get out on time. Get you down to the State House. Senator Patterson, thank you for being with us on Capitol View.
Thank you very much, Tom, for letting me be here. Thank you very much.
The preceding program was made possible in part by grants from SCEG, Duke Power Company, and Carolina Power and Light.